Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our Ed Puzzle Notes number 3 on the reproductive system. I would like to welcome Miss O'Donoghue's class, who is joining our broadcast already in progress. Today we're going to begin with the male erection. That is an enlargement and hardening of the penis due to blood flow from sexual arousal. This sexual arousal can be caused by several different things. It could be auditory, which is something that the male hears, visual, something he sees, tactile, which means touch, and it could even be something that's not even real, just imagination. This causes what's called a parasympathetic reflex. Hopefully you guys remember from the nervous system, the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system. That's a branch of the autonomic nervous system. That was the one that makes you relax, not the fight or flight one, but the one that makes you relax. Now, this autonomic reflex is involuntary, so it's not something you can really think about. It happens by itself, and it's caused by the releasing of hormones and nitric oxide. This phenomenon is caused when smooth muscles relax, which then causes the arteries to dilate, which means get bigger, which causes blood to enter. The blood is then trapped, which maintains the erection. And it's kind of important here, it is not a bone. So don't think there's a bone in there. There's not. All right, so sometimes following or during an erection, a phenomenon called an ejaculation can occur, which is basically just the release of semen through the urethra to the outside body or the outside world. Now, this is a sympathetic reflex, so that is the opposite of parasympathetic in the autonomic nervous system. Now, muscle contractions close a sphincter, remember that's like a valve, at the base of the bladder. So that basically tells the bladder, hey, bladder, you're going to need to hold your urine. We got some other fluids that need to go through here, so the urine you're going to have to wait. Now these fluids are going to go through the ductus deferens, the seminal vesicles, and the ejaculatory ducts. Now these fluids are going to be moved through the ducts, the vas deferens, the seminal vesicles, and ejaculatory ducts through peristaltic contractions. So those are like a rhythmic contractions of smooth muscle, sort of like in the gastrointestinal tract, which moves food or chyme along. This is what propels the semen into the urethra. It is usually associated with the male orgasm. If you are not sure what that is, you can either Google it or write it on a note to Mrs. O'Donoghue, since I am not in class today. Following the male orgasm, or the ejaculation, the penis will return to what's called a flaccid state, which is basically the opposite of an erection. That is caused when the arteries constrict, which causes the blood to move out, and it relieves the pressure in the veins. All right, so here's a little diagram of the structures and organs in the male reproductive system. Hopefully you guys already know this because I believe we're having a quiz on it today. Now to me this looks like a posterior view or a view from the back. I mean, now I know this guy over here is facing forward, but the epididymis and the seminal vesicles, the epididymis is located posterior to the testes, and the seminal vesicles are located posterior to the bladder. So this is going to be a view from behind. So go ahead and take notes on that. All right, another diagram. Like I said, so this would be an anterior view from the front. This would be a posterior view from the back. And here's your epididymis, located posterior to the testes. And the seminal vesicles, which is located posterior to the back of the urinary bladder right there. Feel free to take some notes on that. All right, so everybody's favorite page on these reproductive notes, the interesting facts. 60% of men say that they masturbate. So I guess that means 40% either don't or they are lying. 54% say they do it every day. If you don't know what masturbate means, there is Google, or Mrs. O'Donohoe is there today. She'd be more than happy to answer that question for you. I guess 41% say they feel guilty about it. On average, and this is news to me, I've never seen this, guys have 11 erections per day. To me, that seems a little high. But I guess if 9 of them occur at night while you're sleeping, that would make some sense. And the rest of these things you can read on your own. Oh, man. All right, some more interesting facts. All right, so I guess the largest penis in the animal kingdom is the blue whale, which is 11 feet. Blue whale is 100 foot long, so that could make sense. All right, 7,200 in a lifetime. All right, these are all good things. The average speed of an ejaculation is 28 miles per hour, which is faster than anybody can run. The most arousing time of day? Early morning. Definitely heard of that. I guess the fall. I don't know why the fall, but early morning. That's when men, their testosterone is the highest in the morning. That's why they say to work out in the morning. So that makes sense. To improve sexual function. If you're a smoker and you're a guy, quit. If you don't exercise, start. And lose weight like I am trying to do. Semen records. Horst Schultz achieved 18 feet 9 inches. Pretty impressive. I don't know if this guy's a professional. He also had the greatest height, 12 feet 4 inches, and his speed was 42.7 miles an hour. I don't know if he gets paid for this. I don't know. You'd have to research that or maybe ask Mr. Donahoe. Okay, so goodbye male and hello female reproductive system. So the ovaries, that is what produces the secondary oocytes and hormones. The uterine, or the fallopian tubes, was what transport the fertilized ova, and it transports it to the uterus, which is where the development of the fetus or fetal development will occur. The vagina and external genitalia constitute what's called the vulva, and of course, the mammary glands produce milk. Okay, so the ovaries. Most of the time, it's the function that is the most important, and these are what mature and release the secondary oocytes, the eggs, and you can see that happening right there. They're a pair of organs. They're about the size of an unshelled almond. It's found in the upper pelvic region. And these organs are held in place by the broad, ovarian, and suspensory ligaments. Okay, the regional histology of the ovaries. Remember, histology is the study of tissues. So this is, hey, what tissues are in the ovaries? The germinal epithelium. That is the very outer layer of the ovaries, the outside layer, which covers the ovaries. The ovarian cortex, just like your cerebral cortex, is the outer part of your brain. This is the outer tissue in the ovaries. The ovarian medulla. Medulla always means the inner part. So here, ovarian medulla is in here, deep within. Ovarian follicles, which have oocytes, which are in various stages of development. Follicles, that's why follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH, is what stimulates those to develop. Now, if my memory serves me correct, you might want to focus in this little area here, the tunica albuginea. That is a capsule of dense connective tissue, which is located out here, so between the germinal epithelium and the ovarian cortex. And then you have the hilus, which is where the nerves, blood, and lymph vessels enter right there. All right, so oogenesis, which is how the primordial follicles, or oogonia, will eventually develop into the egg or the ovum. Remember, in males we had spermatogenesis. That makes sense because it was the maturation of sperm. Now we have oogenesis. In males we had spermatogonia. Now we have oogonia. Those will develop into primary oocytes. And you can see those right there. So there's a relatively immature egg cell, hasn't reached the egg stage yet. Some hormones, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone, and LH, luteinizing hormone, influence the primary oocyte to divide into a more mature secondary oocyte, and also what is like a dud called a polar body. Now, this secondary oocyte right there is now what's called haploid. That means, remember, our somatic or our body cells have 46 chromosomes. Well, when it becomes haploid, we cut that number in half to 23 chromosomes. And the reason why that's important, once again, when the egg or ovum combines with the sperm at fertilization, the 23 plus 23 will equal a human with 46 chromosomes. That's why it's important to make the egg or ovum haploid. The secondary oocyte will develop into a Graafian follicle, which will then rupture through the ovary, and this is called ovulation, which releases a secondary oocyte into the uterine tube or the fallopian tube. Meiosis II. Now remember, ovulation has already occurred. The secondary division, or meiosis II, will only occur if that secondary oocyte has been fertilized by the male sperm in the uterine tube or the fallopian tube. A second polar body, or dud, will then be released. Remember, it's no good. And that ovum will then mature and become what's called a zygote, or a fertilized egg. Corpus luteum, yellow body. You can kind of see it right. That's a tiny picture, but right there. This is basically what's left over after the secondary oocyte has been released, and it secretes some hormones like progesterone, estrogens, and relaxin and inhibin. Relaxin changes the blood flow in the body, which basically prepares the body for pregnancy, and inhibin will inhibit the release of FSH, or follicle stimulating hormone. Corpus albicans is just a white scar left after the corpus luteum is not needed, and you can barely see it right there in that little tiny picture. All right, the life history of oogonia. So as a fetus, so before you're born, these oogonia are dividing through what's called mitosis. So that's not meiosis. This is them just making an exact copy of themselves, and we're making millions of them. Most of these oogonia are going to degenerate and be reabsorbed. Reabsorbed so their materials can be reused again for whatever reason, and that process is called atresia. Some of these oogonia are going to develop into primary oocytes, and they will stop in prophase 1 of meiosis. Now, at birth, females have between 200,000 and 2 million. Pretty wide range there. By puberty, about 40,000 of them still remain. They have not been taken in through atresia or lost. And through a lifetime, about 400 of them will mature. Each month, hormones cause meiosis I to resume in follicles so that meiosis II is reached by ovulation. Now, when an oocyte is released in ovulation, it is stuck in what's called metaphase II. Metaphase II. Now, if you remember from biology, we had PMAT, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. So they're stuck right there. Now, if that oocyte is fertilized by the male sperm, that will allow it to proceed in metaphase II to telophase II, and you will get a mature, fertilized ovum or a zygote. All right, so a review of what we've been talking about, oogenesis, even though this is a review. I myself would definitely draw this and I would add in these details because these pictures make a lot more sense than what I've been talking about before. Remember, we start with oogonium. It says 2N right there because this cell is still diploid. It has 2 of each chromosome. So it's got 46 chromosomes, 23 from mom, 23 from dad. After puberty, primary oocytes complete meiosis 1, which produces a secondary oocyte and a first polar body, which may or not divide into 2 more polar bodies. Remember, those are duds, so those don't matter. Now you can see the secondary oocyte now just has an N. It's no longer 2N. So now that secondary oocyte is now what's called haploid. So it no longer has 46 chromosomes. It has been divided down to 23. And that is if everything went correctly. If it got divided down to 23, or half the number of chromosomes. Now the secondary oocyte begins meiosis 2, but remember, it pauses, it stops in the second stage of meiosis, metaphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. It stops in metaphase. If that secondary oocyte is fertilized by the male sperm, right here, a second polar body will be released, and you can see the haploid sperm plus the haploid egg will result in a diploid zygote. So what you saw there was 23 chromosomes in the sperm plus 23 in the egg or ovum will equal the diploid zygote with 46 chromosomes. Uterine or fallopian tubes. It is a narrow 4-inch tube which extends or connects the ovaries to the uterus. So this is where the egg will travel. Now here is the ovary right there, and this is the very beginning of the fallopian or uterine tube, which is called the infundibulum. Now it's a funnel shape because it needs to kind of catch the egg. If you can't see here, these two are not connected. So there is some space there. So we have these finger-like projections called fimbriae, which actually help to sweep the egg inside of the fallopian tube. Now, once inside, when the egg reaches this middle portion of the uterine or fallopian tube called the ampulla, that is where the sperm and egg will meet and fertilization will occur. And then that fertilized egg, the zygote, will then travel into the uterus. Now, what happens once inside of the uterine or fallopian tube? These uterine or fallopian tubes are lined by mucosa. They are ciliated columnar cells, epithelium. Ciliated means they have the hair-like structures. Columnar means they're very elongated cells, so they're not cuboidal or not squashed together. They secrete nutrients, and those hair-like cilia move the ovum along. Remember, the fimbriae are those finger-like projections which sweep the oocyte into the uterine tube after ovulation. It is a combination of the cilia and peristalsis, those wave-like muscle contractions which move it along the tube. Remember, the sperm will reach the oocyte in that middle region of the fallopian or uterine tube called the ampulla. Fertilization will occur within 24 hours after ovulation. The zygote reaches the uterus about 7 days after ovulation. Now here's a look at what it looks like inside the uterine or fallopian tubes. Here are those little hair-like structures called the cilia, which help to move along the fertilized egg or the ovum. Here are the secretory cells that secrete the mucus, which help to nourish the egg or ovum. Anatomy of the uterus. The uterus is a hollow, thick-walled muscular organ. It measures roughly 3 inches long by 2 inches wide by 1 inch thick. Now, obviously, this is going to be very stretchable because unless you're going to have a really, really tiny kid, it is going to have to be able to stretch. It is subdivided into the fundus, which is up here, the body, which is right there, the isthmus, which is way down here, and the uterine cavity, which is right in there. And then you have the cervical canal, which will then go into the vagina. Its function is to obviously grow and nourish the embryo into the fetus. Its location is it projects anteriorly, which means in front of, and superiorly over the urinary bladder. Remember, superiorly means above. This photo just shows you what a dissection of the uterus and the structures around it would look like. Histology of the uterus. Now remember, histology deals with tissues, so this is the type of tissues inside the uterus. Inside, you have the endometrium, made of simple columnar epithelium. Now, simple means it's a single layer, so they're not cells stacked on top of each other. Columnar means it's the elongated cells. And you have two different layers of the endometrium. You have the stratum functionalis, which is there to nourish the fetus. Now, this comes and goes every month. So basically, it comes in preparation for a pregnancy, and if it does not happen, that layer will be shed during menstruation, so it will be gotten rid of. The stratum basalis is basically there to stay. The myometrium, that is 3 layers of smooth muscle, which will contract during childbirth. And the outermost layer is called the perimetrium, which is derived from the visceral peritoneum. So the perimetrium is the outermost layer of the uterus. A hysterectomy is a surgical removal of the uterus. Now, sometimes this will be done because of what's called endometriosis, which is abnormal cell growth in the endometrium layer of the uterus. Ovarian cysts, which are sacs filled with fluids, excessive bleeding, cancer of the cervix. Now, if you have a really aggressive form of cancer, you could maybe have a complete hysterectomy or even what's called a radical hysterectomy, which removes not only the uterus and the tubes, but also the ovaries, part of the vagina, pelvic lymph nodes, and also supporting ligaments. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you guys next week.